Hello and welcome to the Clinton Victory Series Election Series, Episode 10, the 2022 Midterm Elections. Woo! It is now 7 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of the Indiana Senate race, Jim Banks will be elected to his first term to the Senate. He primaried incumbent Senator Todd Young with Donald Trump's endorsement, and Jim Banks has been the projected winner in the general election. He will go on to defeat Thomas McDermott Jr. by around 17 points in Indiana. The Kentucky Senate race, Rand Paul will go on to win re-election, defeating Charles Booker. He will go on to be re-elected by around 27 points. Out of South Carolina Senate race, Tim Scott will go on to be re-elected to another term, defeating Crystal Matthews by around 12 points. Out of Vermont Senate race, Peter Welch will go on to be elected to his first term to the Senate, succeeding longest-serving Democrat Senator Patrick Leahy. He will go on to be elected by around 30 points over Christina Nolan. And out of Georgia Senate race, currently too close to call, Ed Tarver has a 22-point lead over incumbent Senator Doug Collins as of right now. And here's the current Senate composition thus far. Republicans currently have a filibuster-proof majority with 61 seats. So Democrats have a long way to go if they want to overtake or win the Senate. They have to flip around 11 seats to win the Senate, if I'm not mistaken. Currently, Democrats have 26 seats and Republicans have 44 seats. The Vermont governor race, Phil Scott will be elected to another term as governor, defeating Doug Racine by around 33 points. Out of Georgia's governor race, too close to call, Stacey Abrams has a wide lead over Brian Kemp, the incumbent governor. Out of South Carolina's governor race, too close to call, businessman Joe Cunningham is currently leading Governor John Warren by around 18 points. And here's the current governor composition. Democrats being led by Delaware Governor John Carney with their 4 seats, and Republicans being led by Democrat-turned-Republican Governor of West Virginia and their 11 seats. It is now 7:30 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of North Carolina's Senate race, currently too close to call, Cherry Beasley has a 30-point lead over Ted Budd. Out of Ohio's Senate race, too close to call, Tim Ryan also has a 30-point lead over his Republican opponent. Out of Georgia's Senate race, still too close to call, Ed Tarver's lead has dwindled a lot. He currently has a 2-point lead over Doug Collins. And here's the current Senate composition. Democrats have 26 seats and Republicans have 44 seats. Out of Ohio's governor race, currently too close to call, Mayor Nan Whaley has an 18-point lead over Governor Mary Taylor. And we can now have a projection out of South Carolina's governor race. John Warren will go on to win re-election, defeating Joe Cunningham by around 6 percentage points. Out of Georgia's governor race, too close to call, Stacey Abrams has a 14-point lead over Brian Kemp. And here's the governor composition so far. Democrats with 4 seats and Republicans with 12 seats. It is now 8 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Alabama's Senate race, Mo Brooks will be elected to his first term in the Senate, defeating Will Boyd by around 28 points. Out of Missouri Senate race, Billy Long will be elected to his first term in the Senate, succeeding retiring Senator Roy Blunt. He will go on to defeat Lucas Kunst by around 15 points. Out of Oklahoma Senate race, Jackson LaMaire, who was endorsed by Donald Trump in the primary. With that, he primary James Lankford, and Jackson LaMaire will go on to defeat Jason Bullinger, by around 22 points in Oklahoma. Out of Connecticut Senate race, Richard Blumenthal will go on to win another term in the Senate, defeating Timothy Clarides by around 19 percentage points. Out of Illinois Senate race, Tammy Duckworth will go on to defeat Peggy Hubbard by around 28 points or 23 points in order to win re-election here. A big victory for Tammy Duckworth, as she does really well in the ancestral Republican areas. Out of Maryland Senate race, Chris Van Hollen will be elected to another term, defeating Kim Klacik by around 38 points. A big victory for Chris Van Hollen. This race could have been closer with Larry Hogan running, but he decided not to run in the end of the day, and instead Kim Klacik ended up running and winning the nomination and Trump's endorsement. Out of Florida's governor race, currently too close to call, Val Demings has a 2-point lead over Marco Rubio. Out of New Hampshire Senate race, too close to call, incumbent Maggie Hassan has a wide lead over State Senator Chuck Morse right now. Out of Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call, Katie McGinty has a 14-point lead over Dr. Mehmet Oz, who was in a very tough primary race not that long ago against David McCormick, but Oz ended up winning, and he is now in a tough race against Katie McGinty. At a North Carolina Senate race, still too close to call. Beasley's lead now dropping to a 10-point lead. Ohio Senate race, too close to call. Ryan's lead also dropping to a 10-point lead. Georgia Senate race, too close to call. Ed Tarver has a 1-point lead over Doug Collins. And here is the current Senate composition so far. Democrats at 29 seats, Republicans at 47 seats. We are expecting Republicans to hold on to the Senate here tonight. It just depends whether they'll keep their filibuster-proof majority or not. Out of Alabama's governor race, Tommy Battle will go on to win another term as governor, defeating Yolanda Flowers by around 28 points. Out of New Hampshire's governor race, Chris Sununu will go on to win re-election, defeating Tom Sherman by around 30 points. Oklahoma's governor race, Todd Lamb will go on to defeat Joy Hoffmeister by around 18 points, a massive underperformance of Jackson LeMahieu's numbers on the Senate race. But Oklahoma's governor races, or down-ballot statewide races, tend to be a lot closer, as Hoffmeister ended up winning a second county, which is pretty good for a Democrat in Oklahoma. And Tennessee's governor race, Bill Lee will go on to win re-election, defeating Marquita Bradshaw by around 18 points. Out of Illinois' governor race, J.B. Pritzker will go on to win another term, defeating Richard Irvin, defeating him by around 19 points, underperformance of Tammy Duckworth's numbers. Out of Maine's governor race, a flip from 2018, Troy Jackson will go on to defeat incumbent governor Garrett Mason by around 12 points, a big victory for Troy Jackson, a very popular state senator out of Maine, defeating Garrett Mason, who was so-so as governor. Out of Maryland's governor race, former Transportation Secretary Tom Perez will go on to win another term, or his first term as governor, going on to defeat Dan Cox by around 38 points, flipping the seat blue. And out of another flip for Democrats, out of the Massachusetts governor race, Attorney General Maura Healey will go on to defeat Jeff Deal by around 30 points to flip the Massachusetts governorship blue. This was Charlie Baker's seat, but he decided to retire after threats of a primary from Donald Trump. Out of Rhode Island's governor race, Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee will go on to succeed Governor Gina Raimondo to become the next governor, defeating Kenneth Hopkins by around 24 points, I mean. Out of Connecticut's governor race, too close to call, Mayor Joe Ganim is leading Governor Bob Stefanowski by around 14 points currently. Out of Florida's governor race, too close to call, Congressman Charlie Crist has an 11-point lead over Governor Ron DeSantis currently. Out of Pennsylvania's governor race, too close to call, former Attorney General Josh Shapiro has a 33-point lead over Governor Paul Mango as of right now. Out of Ohio's governor race, currently too close to call, Nain Whaley has a 12-point lead over Governor Mary Taylor. And out of Georgia's governor race, too close to call, Stacey Abrams has a 6-point lead over Brian Kemp. And here is the current governor composition. Democrats have 9 seats to Republicans 16. It is now 8:30. We have poll closings out of Arkansas, as we can project that Jan Morgan, after defeating John Boozman in the primary with Donald Trump's endorsement, will be elected to her first term in the Senate, defeating Natalie James by around 23 percentage points. At New Hampshire Senate race, Maggie Hassan will be elected to another term, defeating Chuck Morse by around 9 points, a seat that was really in no question for the Democrats. Out of Florida Senate race, too close to call, a statistical tie between the two candidates as of right now. Out of Pennsylvania Senate race, too close to call, Katie McGinty has a 6-point lead over Mehmet Oz. Out of North Carolina Senate race, too close to call, Cherry Beasley has a 6-point lead over Ted Budd. Out of Ohio Senate race, too close to call, Tim Ryan has a 6-point lead over J.D. Vance. Out of Georgia Senate race, too close to call, a statistical tie between the two candidates. And here's the current Senate composition so far. Democrats have 30 seats to Republicans 48 seats. Out of Arkansas's governor race, Sarah Sanders will be elected to her first term as governor, defeating Chris Jones by around 23 points, same margin as Jan Morgan's victory earlier in the night. Out of Connecticut's governor race, another flip for the Democrats. Mayor Joe Ganim will be elected to his first term, defeating Bob Stefanowski by around 7 points. Pretty competitive race for these states, how the state voted 2 years ago in 2020, as well as, the environment being a D+9 environment and all. But Joe Ganim will be elected nonetheless, flipping the seat blue. Out of Florida's governor race, a seat that Democrats poured a lot of money into but couldn't get the job done, Ron DeSantis will be elected to another term as governor, defeating Charlie Crist by around 5 percentage points. A disappointing loss for Democrats, as they were hoping to flip this seat, as DeSantis is pretty hated by them. but they wasted a lot of money which could have gone to other races. Out of Pennsylvania's governor race, another flip for the Democrats. Josh Shapiro will be elected as governor, defeating Paul Mango by around 5 percentage points. Paul Mango, a very unbelievably unpopular governor since he defeated Tom Wolf in 2018. The number one issue was infrastructure in the state, and hardly anybody was supporting Mango, as people were saying as Shapiro was the infrastructure candidate. Out of Ohio's governor race, Mary Taylor will be elected to another term as governor, defeating Nan Willey by around 3 percentage points. Mary Taylor, a pretty popular governor in the state, not as popular as Mike DeWine IRL, but she will go on to defeat progressive Nan Willey. Out of Georgia's governor race, too close to call, Stacey Abrams has a 3-point lead over Brian Kemp. And here are the governors of composition. Democrats have 11 seats to Republicans 19. It is now 9 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Colorado Senate race, Michael Bennet will be elected to another term in a landslide, defeating Ron Hanks by around 22 points, a big victory for Michael Bennet. Out of New York Senate race, Chuck Schumer will win in a landslide, defeating Joe Pinion by around 33 points. Out of Louisiana Senate race, John Kennedy will go on to defeat Gary Chambers by around 20 points in the state of Louisiana, winning re-election. Out of North Dakota Senate race, John Hoeven will be re-elected, defeating Kirsten Christensen by around 29 points. And we can now make the projection that Republicans will unsurprisingly win the Senate. They will keep the majority in the Senate. No surprise here, Democrats had very little pathway to gain enough seats to win back the Senate. And now out of South Dakota, Bruce Whalen will be elected to his first term. He primaried John Thune in the South Dakota primary with Donald Trump's endorsement, leading him to be, I think, the first Native American senator in quite a while, and it's a Republican, no doubt. He's defeating John Bangs by around 19 points in the state of South Dakota. Out of Arizona Senate race, too close to call, Ruben Gallego has a 3-point lead over Paul Gosar, who primaried incumbent Senator Kimberly Yee with Donald Trump's endorsement. And out of Wisconsin Senate race, too close to call, Russ Feingold has a 3-point lead over Mike Gallagher currently. Out of Florida Senate race, we can now make the projection that Marco Rubio will be elected to another term as a senator. He underperforming Ron DeSantis' numbers by around 2 or 3 points. He will go on to defeat Val Demings by 2 points, so it's a 3-point underperformance. So, and of course, Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis, electoral juggernauts. Democrats spent a lot of money in this state, and they didn't even win. A lot of money down the drain. Now, the Pennsylvania Senate race, a seat Republicans put a lot of money into. Katie McGinty will be elected to another term as senator, defeating Dr. Oz by around 3 points, underperforming Josh Shapiro's numbers. And out of Georgia Senate race, a big shocker here. Another state Democrats put a lot of money into is Georgia on both the Senate and governor levels. Doug Collins will be elected to his first full term in the Senate, defeating Ed Tarver by 1 percentage point, barely avoiding the runoff. A very close election here in the Georgia Senate race. And out of North Carolina Senate race, too close to call, Cherry Beasley has a 2-point lead over Ted Budd currently. Out of Ohio Senate race, currently too close to call, Tim Ryan has a 2-point lead over J.D. Vance. And here's the current Senate composition. Thus far, Republicans have 53 seats to Democrats 33 seats. Republicans have 20 more seats right now than Democrats do. It is not a good night for Democrats on the Senate level, but on the House and governor level, they're having a phenomenal night, if you want my honest opinion. Out of Minnesota's governor race, Tim Walz will be elected to another term, defeating Scott Jensen by around 17 points. Out of New York's governor race, Kathy Hochul will be elected to her first full term in the Senate, or to the governorship, defeating Lee Zeldin by around 20 points. Out of Nebraska's governor race, Jim Pellin, who defeated Donald Trump's endorsed candidate Charles Herbster in the primary, will be elected to his first term as governor, defeating Carol Blood by around 14 points. Out of South Dakota's governor race, Kristi Noem will be elected to another term, defeating Jamie Smith by around 21 points. Out of Wyoming's governor race, Mark Gordon will be elected to another term, defeating Trey Livingston by around 40 points. Out of Arizona's governor race, too close to call, Katie Hobbs has a 7-point lead over Carrie Lake. Out of Colorado's governor race, too close to call, Diane Primavera has a 17-point lead over Governor Tom Tancredo. Out of Kansas governor race, too close to call, Lynn Rogers has a 11-point lead over Governor Chris Kobach right now. Out of Michigan's governor race, too close to call, Gretchen Whitmer has a 21-point lead over James Craig. Out of New Mexico's governor race, too close to call, Governor Michelle Grisham has a 14-point lead over Mark Ronchetti. Out of Texas governor race, too close to call, Beto O'Rourke has a a 15-point lead over Governor Greg Abbott. Out of Wisconsin's governor race, too close to call. Mandela Barnes has a huge lead over Governor Scott Walker. And we can now make a projection out of Governor's Georgia race. Brian Kemp will barely avoid a runoff, being reelected, defeating Stacey Abrams. Another race Democrats poured a lot of money into. They couldn't get it done. Stacey Abrams was seen as a big loser after she lost by 12 points in 2018. Now she's losing in a blue wave by around 1 point. So she improved by 11 points in 4 years. That's good, but she still loses. And here's the current governor composition. Democrats have 13 seats, Republicans 23 seats. Republicans only need 3 more seats to retain their majority in the Governor's Association. It is now 10 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Iowa Senate race, Chuck Grassley will go on to be reelected, defeating State Congresswoman Abby Finkenauer by around 23 points. Chuck Grassley's biggest or lowest victory yet, only a 23-point victory, this time losing 3 counties instead of 1. At a Nevada Senate race, currently too close to call, Catherine Cortez Masto has a 38-point lead over veteran Sam Brown. Out of Utah Senate race, currently too close to call, Evan McMullen has a 4-point lead over Senator Mike Lee. Out of Arizona Senate race, too close to call, Ruben Gallagher has a 2-point lead over Paul Gosar. Out of Wisconsin Senate race, too close to call, Russ Feingold has a 2-point lead over Mike Gallagher. Out of North Carolina Senate race, too close to call, Cherry Beasley has a 1-point lead over Ted Budd. Out of Ohio Senate race, Tim Ryan has a 1-point lead over J.D. Vance. Here's the current Senate composition thus far. Republicans have 54 seats to Democrats 33 seats. Out of Iowa's governor race, too close to call, Deidre DeGier has a 6-point lead over Governor Kim Reynolds. Out of Nevada's governor race, too close to call, Marilyn Kirkpatrick has a huge lead over Governor Adam Laxalt. And we can now make a call out of Colorado's governor race as Diane Primavera will be elected to her first term as governor, defeating Tom Tangrito by around 7 points. Massive underperformance of Michael Bennett's numbers in the Senate race, but Tom Tangrito was a fairly popular governor of the state with a 51% approval rating, but he couldn't match the Blue Wave's power, and he loses by 7 points. Out of Michigan's governor race, Gretchen Whitmer will be elected to another term, defeating James Craig by around 9 percentage points. Out of New Mexico's governor race, scandal-plagued Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham will go on to defeat Mark Ronchetti by around 5 percentage points. Out of Texas governor race, Greg Abbott will be reelected to another term, defeating Beto O'Rourke by around 5 points. Out of Arizona's governor race, too close to call, Katie Hobbs has a 2-point lead over Carrie Lake. Out of Kansas governor race, too close to call, Lynn Rogers has a 2-point lead over Chris Kobach. Wisconsin's governor race, too close to call, Mandela Barnes has a 6-point lead over Scott Walker. Here's the current governor composition so far. Democrats have 16 seats to Republicans 24 seats. It is now 11 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of California's Senate race, Kamala Harris will be elected to another term in the Senate, defeating James Bradley by around 22 percentage points. Out of Hawaii's Senate race, Brian Schatz will be elected to another term, defeating Bob McDermott by around 29 points. Out of Oregon Senate race, Ron Wyden will win in a ginormous landslide, winning by around 26 points over Joe Ray Perkins. Out of Washington Senate race, Patty Murray will be reelected to another term, defeating Tiffany Smiley by around 22 points. Out of Idaho Senate race, Mike Crapo will go on to win another term in the Senate, defeating David Roth by around 22 points. Out of Nevada Senate race, Catherine Cortez Masto will outperform bigly, defeating Sam Brown by around 9 points in the state of Nevada, bringing out the huge Hispanic numbers as well as independent vote coming to her. Out of the Utah Senate race, a very unexpectedly close election, Mike Lee will be reelected to another term, defeating Evan McMullen by around 7 points. Out of Arizona Senate race, too close to call, Ruben Gallagher still has a 2-point lead over Paul Gosar. Out of Wisconsin Senate race, too close to call, Russ Feingold has a 2-point lead over Mike Gallagher. Out of North Carolina, too close to call, Cherry Beasley has a 1-point lead over Ted Budd. Out of Ohio Senate race, too close to call, Tim Ryan has a 1-point lead over J.D. Vance. Here's the current Senate composition thus far. Democrats have 38 seats, Republicans 56 seats. Republicans only need 4 more seats to keep that filibuster-proof majority, but the Politico swingometer, I guess you can call it, I think that's what it's called, are saying that it's not likely. Democrats are expected to pick up at least 3 more seats here tonight. Out of California's governor race, Gavin Newsom will be re-elected to another team, defeating Brian Dahl by around 22 points. Out of Hawaii's governor race, Congressman Kai Kahil will be elected to his first term as governor, defeating BJ Penn by around 28 points. Out of Idaho's governor race, someone Donald Trump failed a primary, Brad Little will be re-elected to another team, defeating Stephanie Height by around 22 points. Out of Oregon's governor race, currently too close to call, Speaker Tina Kotek is currently leading Governor Newt Bueller by around 14 points. Out of Hawaii's, did I say Hawaii? Out of Iowa's governor race, Kim Reynolds will be elected to another term, defeating Deidre DeGiera by around 7 points in the state of Iowa. Out of Nevada's governor race, Marilyn Kirkpatrick will defeat Adam Laxalt. However, she will underperform Catherine Cortez Masto by a lot, only beating Laxalt by around 2 points in the state of Nevada, which could set up Laxalt to primary Dean Heller in 2024, which is something Donald Trump said he wanted to do. So we'll just have to wait and find out. Out of Kansas governor race, we can now project a flip for the Democrats, another flip. Lynn Rogers, the state treasurer, will be elected to his first term as governor, defeating Chris Kobach by around 4 points. A big victory for Democrats here tonight. Out of Arizona's governor race, too close to call, Katie Hobbs is a 1-point lead over Kari Lake. Out of Wisconsin's governor race, too close to call, Mandela Barnes is a 2-point lead over Scott Walker. And here's the current governor composition. Republicans have officially re-won the National Governors Association with 26 seats. Democrats have 20 seats. It is now 1 a.m. and Alaska have their poll closings. And of course, they're using ranked choice voting. So here are the results of the first round. Incumbent Lisa Murkowski at 45%. A big start off if she wants to re-win the seat. She only needs 5% of any three of these candidates, just 5% from any three of these candidates, and she wins. Kelly Tshibaka, the administration commissioner who was endorsed by Donald Trump at 33%, independent John Ho at 13%, and libertarian Sean Thorne at 10%. Now on the governor side, Governor Mike Lindell at 39%, former Governor Bill Walker at 38%, Les Gara at 18%, and another Republican, Christopher Kirka, at 5%. So this looks like to be a very close race. We are expecting this to be very narrow, but Bill Walker is leading in polling. But polling is pretty bad in Alaska, so we'll just have to wait and find out. And we can now make a call out of Oregon. Out of Oregon's governor race, Tina Kotek will flip the seat blue very narrowly, however, underperforming Ron Wyden by a lot against a very popular governor in Newt Bueller. She would defeat Newt Bueller by around 2 points in the state of Oregon. Massive underperformance of where she needed to be, but she still wins nonetheless. It is now 1:15. We can now make a call out of Arizona's races. And out of Arizona's Senate race, we project that Ruben Gallego will be elected to his first term in the Senate, defeating Paul Gosar very narrowly by around 0.6%. Maricopa County independents swung left this cycle, and they chose Gallego over Gosar. They thought both candidates were too extreme, even though Gosar really ain't that extreme. Anyway, I digress. And we now have a call out of Arizona's governor race. Katie Hobbs, despite all her scandals, will be elected to her first term as governor, defeating Kari Lake by around 0.3%. Kari Lake ended up winning more independents than Hobbs, but of course, Democrat turnout was much higher than that of Republican turnout. So Katie Hobbs will be elected nonetheless over Kari Lake, just based off turnout. It is now 1:30 a.m. We have updates out of Alaska. And here are the round 2 numbers. Lisa Murkowski is now at 47%. Kelly Tshibaka is at 38%. And John Ho is at 16%. John Ho's numbers are most likely going to end up going with Murkowski, though there is a very small chance that those voters could swing with Tshibaka, as well as Sean Thorne's numbers, as, you know, their third choice could go to Tshibaka over Murkowski. So we'll just have to wait and find out. But most of Sean Thorne's numbers did go to Kelly Tshibaka this round. So I think this was Kelly Tshibaka's last gasp. Maybe, my personal opinion, she needed at least 40% this round to have a chance. But it looks like Murkowski could end up sweeping this. And out of the governor races, a statistical tie. Mike Dunleavy and Bill Walker both at 41%. Bill Walker getting the most out of Christopher Kirka's numbers, and which bumped him up to have a statistical tie with Mike Dunleavy. Les Gar at 19%. So this looks like Bill Walker will end up being elected governor if Les Gar's numbers do go to Walker, unless Democrats picked Dunleavy as their second choice. We'll just have to wait. It is now 1:45 a.m. We can now make calls out of the Wisconsin races, and out of Wisconsin Senate race, Ross Feingold will be reelected to another term, once again very narrowly, defeating Mike Gallagher by around 0.2%. Very close race, very close race, but Ross Feingold will go on to defeat Mike Gallagher, who could end up running against Tammy Baldwin in 2 years, so we'll just have to wait. And out of Wisconsin's governor race, another flip for the Democrats. Mandela Barnes will go on to defeat Scott Walker very narrowly by 0.1 points, defeating Scott Walker. Donald Trump put a lot of focus in this race, but Walker still ends up losing. It is now 2 a.m. We can now make calls out of Alaska. And out of Alaska Senate race, Lisa Murkowski will go on to win another term to the Senate, defeating Kelly Tshibaka. As you can see here, Lisa Murkowski is in red, Kelly Tshibaka is in orange. Lisa Murkowski will win the final vote by around 14 points, defeating Kelly Tshibaka. Most moderate voters just swung with Murkowski. Kelly Tshibaka really didn't have a lot to work with here, especially since she got so low the vote in the first round. So Lisa Murkowski just seems like an unstoppable titan in the state of Alaska. And this ain't really a gain for either party, but a gain for pure independence, as Bill Walker will be reelected to his second non-consecutive term in Alaska, defeating incumbent Mike Dunleavy by around 4 points. As you can see here, his Bill Walker counties are in yellow, and Mike Dunleavy is in red. Bill Walker doing very well in the rural and suburban areas of the state, while Mike Dunleavy does well in the urban areas. It is now 2:15, and we can now make calls out of North Carolina. Out of the North Carolina Senate race, we can project that Cherry Beasley will be elected to her first term in the Senate, defeating Ted Budd and succeeding Republican Richard Burr. She will defeat Budd by around 0.4%. Very close race right here. This could be the end of Ted Budd's career, or he might run for governor next year. Or, well, not next year, because Dan Forest is the incumbent, but maybe in 2028, maybe he runs again in 2026 and primaries Tom Tillis. We'll just have to wait. It is now 2:30 a.m. We can now make a call out of Ohio Senate race, the final state call. And out of Ohio Senate race, Tim Ryan will be elected to his first term in the Senate, defeating J.D. Vance very narrowly by around 0.8 points. Very close race this one was, but the white working class came out in droves to support Tim Ryan over J.D. Vance as of right now. And here is the final Senate composition. Republicans no longer have a filibuster-proof majority, as Democrats have 42 seats to Republicans' 58 seats. And here is the map. As you can see here, Democrats making 3 gains here tonight, a net gain of 3 Senate seats, as they flip Arizona, Ohio, and North Carolina. Interestingly enough, all by tilt margins, interestingly enough. So if Republicans did 1 point better, they would have made gains, as they would have won at least Wisconsin. So there is something to think about. As you can see here, all 4 tilt Senate seats were Democrats. So if Republicans just did 1% better nationwide, they would have made at least a net gain of 1 seat, that being Wisconsin. So this wasn't that bad of a night on the Senate level for Republicans, despite losing 3 Senate seats. And on the governor's level, Democrats have 23 seats, Republicans have 26 seats, and independents have 1 seat, as Bill Walker isn't really aligned with either Republicans nor Democrats. And here's the map. As you can see here, Democrats flipped 11 governor seats, while independents flipped 1. Democrats flipped Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Kansas, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine. Big victories here tonight for Democrats on the gubernatorial level. And here's the marginal map. As you can see here, the closest Republican victory tonight was Georgia with Brian Kemp, and for Republicans it was Wisconsin, or in Democrats it was Wisconsin and Mandela Barnes. And we can now make a projection out of the House majority. Democrats will retake the House for the first time in quite a bit. I think 2008 was the last time they had the House. But they will now retake the House, flipping 52 seats here tonight, as the final numbers will be Democrats led by Katherine Clark with 222 seats, and Republicans and Kevin McCarthy with 215 seats. A big victory for Democrats on the House level here tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to follow me on my Twitter at Chaotic Politics. This is the Chaotic One saying peace.